All right, let's try it again. There we go. Alrighty. Okay, this is the skating ring gig. It's a skating ring gig. This is 7/28/2022. So it was last year, the middle of yeah, it was the middle of last year. He was bummed out. Aaron was bummed out about not being able to, the clubs were all funny about everything. So he made a mix and went to the skating rink by himself. And I believe I have pictures of that up, although that may have actually been a different, I think that the one I have, the video of him, 4 minutes or whatever it is, of him rollerblading, I think that actually was the year before when we had COVID. So anyway, thank you for being here. I'm Verdi Busto, and this is the Schumann Resonance Harmonics channel with Verdi. I'm not sure what I am these days. Schumann Resonance is with Verdi, I think. So thank you all for being here. I've already done my system test, so I know you can hear me well enough. Got noise on the view meter, so that's moving. This is take 2 or 3 or whatever of this material. The first time that I did this video, I had technical issues. I didn't like it, so we're doing this over. It was 1:30 whatever, so we're doing this whole. I'm sorry, it was 1 hour and 30 minutes. So we're doing that all over. So before I get too far afield, if you're new here, I would like you to know that this channel is not monetized. The YouTube doesn't push it in any way, shape, or form. So if you want to get the notifications, make sure to hit the subscription bell and select all your notifications, or you will get none of the notifications. Honestly, it's bad enough that if and when you are subscribed, that you don't get notifications as it is. Like, I do the video, I don't get credit if in heaven, at the end of the day, I don't get credit if you see it or not. I just, on my part, for the love of the topic, I do the video and don't really expect anyone is going to see it. Just I can't. I'm not held into who sees it as to whether or not I've done the job properly, right? I do this, and this is probably for those of you who are new, you may or may not know this, but before every single one of these videos, I meditate and I ask my guides, my spirit guides, the holy people, the sacred elders, ancestors, the intelligence of the universe, whatever you want to call it, the name which shall not be named. I ask that which shall not be spoken, to please help me, guide me. What do the people need to know? I'm here for the intention of disseminating this information to you all, right? And so I have there's no qualms, what's the word? No confusion in my mind that what I'm doing here and what my purpose is, because I ask, please, God help me. My channel has a purpose in what I do. I stick with science. I stick with the hardcore tech of this stuff. I'm not here on the belief side. I'm not here to discuss religious beliefs. This is not the Schumann resonances that are going to make you ascend, cause you to ascend, or any of that, right? This is just science of the the phenomena, the real world phenomena. And hey, when it happens to get thrown out into conversation about, ascension, I explain to people very carefully and very succinctly that ascension comes after you have finished your life contract. And that brings us right back to the square one of talking about the me here. What I'm doing is I'm, living a life of great meaning. I love the technology. I'm here just explaining what this tech is so you understand it. I I don't really care if you get it personally. It's like it's not, you're not ascending in any way if you learn it or not. But for the people who are here to learn about the tech, like that's what I want. That's those are the people I'm looking for, because we kind of bond together, we yoke together as a team through our love of the technology and learning it properly. You may not love it as personally as I do, uh, but I want you to have some respect for the process, and this is why what I've been doing from the very beginning, for you to have a respect for the process of understanding the Schumann resonances, what their part is in the greater overall geoelectric channel of the planet, and the subset of the telluric currents. Uh, I haven't like hid behind the big words. I haven't discussed the woo-woo side of Schumann resonances because, well, there ain't any. That doesn't exist. It's not there. You can, if you look for it, yeah, I guess you'll find it, whatever. But, I give you from the hardcore technical, scientific, from my experience as a field tech, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of this, that you can discern for yourself when you look at the charts, when you look at the graphs from Cumiana versus Tomsk, to know what you're looking at, to know they're not interchangeable and why, and yet to grab the information that you're looking for from both of them, right? From the perfect, what I call the perfect version, the perfected version of Tomsk when it's working, Tomask, and the perfected method, that the educational, again, this is all educational, right? This is why I don't delve into like the medical stuff and how it should make you feel. I say keep grounded. Okay, like that's what the metaphysical, physiological panacea, the cure-all to whatever is, stay grounded. Right? It's that simple. Regardless of whatever the rest of the environment is doing, stay grounded, and it won't affect you, because your power, your internal power generator, your heart, your all of that, the central nervous system, central electric system of discharge in your body is stronger than the Schumann resonances, and for God's sakes, it's even stronger than this stuff here. However, we feel it. We feel this stuff, and it may not be on the level you think it is, or where it is, or whatever. And so that's where it's important to, to start examining and looking at this stuff from the educational perspective of what it is technically, getting back to basics. And this is the message of what I'm here for, what I have been here for, what I'm doing, what I'm presenting. And this is why, this here is our other educational model, to get back on track of what I was just saying, our other educational model of the reports, the technical reports of the antennae. Okay, antenna is one, antennae is two. A-E, it ends A-E, antennae. And I love saying that, but people think you're a freak, yes, I am, but that's not the only reason wherefore I am a freak. Thank you very much for noticing, though. I appreciate that. So, all right. So yeah, and so okay. So I explained to the, for those of you who are new, why it's important for you to subscribe. Other than that, it's not for my channel because I don't get anything. I'm the music, just for the record, because it's important to know this for the newcomer, right? And I enjoy doing these with in mind the newcomer. And like, there's always people coming in, and I get references and referrals here. And so every day I get like one or two, stragglers come in, and I slowly see everything, my numbers rise. But I don't do it for my statistics. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing this for you guys to share the love with me, right? So it's important for you if you like the videos, and especially because Hollywood is having, as you may or may not know, having a writer's strike. So there's a lot of new, there's a lot, very little new stuff coming out. No new movies per se. Oh, they're having a hard time struggling with the whole AI writing a better script than the humans can. Yeah, the AI introducing God into the script, the AI introducing values into the script that the humans don't want to add in there. It's not looking good for the writers who are, they're not really coming to good terms with their place. Anyway, anyway, the point is I'm a better writer. I'm a better writer than all of the Hollywood schmucks put together as a team, right? All right. So that's why it's important for you, just to summarize this, why it's important for you to, select the notification bell. And I'm making a point of this early on in the video, for those who are new, for those of you who are curious. I got a comment in the last one I did, about someone who was talking about you YouTubers, you content providers, sticking us with the subscribe thing first and foremost. And for me, it's like, before I even get into the material, I want to, it's like a formality at a business meeting. You do the roll call, you give the minutes of the last meeting, right? It's, and for those of us who are professional, this is what we do, right? We at somewhere in there, like, share, comment, subscribe, help us out, and help you to get the notifications as well. This is us doing this for you. This is our team. We're a team in this, right? I'll provide the content, but if you want to see it, you'll have to, share, comment, right? These help it percolate up in the recommended. It helps percolate up in the algorithm so you get it in a timely manner. It's not just for my ego, it's also for you on your end, just so you know. Right? And as the technical guy, I'm telling you this in the spirit of how it works, so so you're informed. It's not just for my channel, for me. This is how the YouTube community partnership, blah, 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 whatever, works. Okay, so, and I mean this in a sincere way. Even though I say it in a rather irreverent way, I mean it sincerely, from my heart, to help you. It's not just for us, but it's also to help you. Right. So thank you for the comment on that. And, I have explained this before. I've explained it to people regularly, and I think Mark Pyers has talked about this, and other channels have talked about, the notifications and all of that. It's just, this is part of the community, and we want to work together as a community, and that's sort of what the notification bell is, and the share. I do that with the channels I like, and I frequently don't have, honestly, this is my experience. Then the channels that I interact with regularly, comment, share, subscribe, have subscribed to, I get regular updates. And hence, that's why I comment and why I thumbs up my comments. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to thumbs up your own comment, and I do that. And I thumbs up other comments, and, and it's just part of the experience of it, right? All right, so hopefully I didn't belabor that and beat a dead horse into a deeper, darker death. But that this is in reference to a comment that I had, the last comment I got on the video, the comment I got in the last video, and I thought it was important to mention that, because I do have in mind the heart for the newcomer, right? Learning this, and that's why I keep this on a digestible level, and I try and break down the vocabulary and have visual aids to all of this, and put the little, and that's why I spent the money for the Wacom tablet with a little pen, so I actually could write and put a little arrow if need be, and circle, and make a smiley face or star or whatever I need to. And so it's there, and so that's what I dedicate the time and that's part of it as well. Not to get back off onto the topic I just left, but that's, we those of us, the content providers, spend a lot of time doing these videos, right? And that's part of the comment I made, that we spend a lot of time doing this, and it's not, for every 1 minute that's finished, it's like 8 minutes of work and whatever that we have to go through, work and capture and edit and make sure you can hear it, make sure you can see it. You got to at least watch, when it's done, you have to at least watch the video once. You have to at least play it to make sure it has sound, like these kind of things. And in this case here, this is take 2 of this, all right, so that's an hour, just, chalk it up to the write it off to experience. All right, it's an hour of my time. Okay. It was an hour to do it, and then it took me, and then it took me having to watch it. Like, all right, so it's we're now into 2 hours, where, okay, whatever, it is what it is. Yeah. So, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning here. I'm pretty sure there's no one still living upstairs, but I don't know, and I don't want to talk too loudly. So that's why I have the microphone just really close to my face, so I don't really have to raise my voice, and I can speak sotto voce. I learned that from music class. One of the few things I learned that's low voice, sotto voce. All right, so blah blah blah. I'm rambling on. So this video is not going to. There's not going to be a pretense of this being a short video, right? I'm not even kind of gonna lead you down that road. I don't want it to be too long, but it's feature length. I'll just put it that way. I have coffee, I get some smoke, hopefully you have some meds. Now that it's legal, it's like, I talk about it over the thing. It's my meds or smoke, whatever. And speaking of which, Jacqueline gives her regards. She's living out in the mountains, for those of you who know who I'm talking about. She survived I'm trying to remember what it was. The last hurricane that was out there, H something. All right, so you know what? Actually, I think this is probably a good time to pause the video. I'm gonna have a drink of some coffee, myself, and so why don't you do that? I'll meet you on the other side in a few minutes, and we'll pick up where I dropped off. Okay. Okay, we're live. 1812. So, there's something I wanted to talk about. This is, any of you who know me, who, been around for a while, know that sometimes I go on these sort of, preface or introductory sort of things before I even get into the material, and I try to, it's been a quest for me, right? Like to figure out how to bring this to you all in a way you can understand it. And so, like, part of this is a journey for me. It may be less of a journey for me than it is for you. Harder for you learning this technical stuff than it is for me to learn how to relate this technical stuff that is impersonal to you in a personal way that's not with the bullshit, that's not the ascension path, which is not the correct traditional pathway, right? There is what I'm calling traditional ascension. A year ago, I didn't have to ever talk about this, but now I do, right? Like, it's a thing. And I have indeed gone through my ascension. I've gone through my graduation point, and this is one of the few things I have to work on. The most basic of things you folks, everyone knows about. It's not the it's important, extremely important, but not the ascension pathway, because it's the cult of personality. Everyone has a personality, and that's not what is going to be getting you into your higher self, right? There is a higher self that is a balance between what you know and what you do. And what you say counts as what you do. And it's important for people to understand, like, this is the whole mumbo jumbo, shuck and jive, the card game, the shell game, the 3 card Monte, I think it is, or any one of these games, or they're endless. The bamboozle, trickery, manipulation. I've talked about this. Comes through the rhetoric of the words that are being used and misused and stolen and misappropriated, trying to pass for a spiritual experience or a spiritual ascension or whatever, that are not of themselves a spiritual experience or spiritual, terminology. Yet people are being suckered by this, by the misuse of technical terminology that is not intended, was never intended as a spiritual experience. It's hard to explain this to people, that what your view of a lot of this ascension stuff, having need of the spectrogram chart or one of these spectrograms, like, it can legitimately be seen of itself as a pathology bordering on addiction, first and foremost, but let's put that on the back burner, okay? That your spiritual process, your ontology requires the proof of the rising frequencies as necessitated, the proof of that coming through the graphs of Tomsk. It's the only way to prove that is through Tomsk. That is, well, it's problematic. I mean, among other things, it's problematic. It's addictive. It's an addictional thing. It's problematic because the rhetoric has to be slanted. It has to be demeaninged. I'm not sure what the better word to put it, but it's like demagnetizing a magnet. Like, you put it through a electrical process and it no longer functions as a magnet. It's just a piece of inert metal, or ceramic, ceramic alloy. That's a magnet. A lot of magnets are ceramic, a ceramic composite material. It's not actually a metal. Mu metal is this. It's ceramic composite. Loudspeaker formers are ceramic. I'm sorry, loudspeaker magnets. So part of, like, the understand a life worth living a life to great meaning, is a life that does not use false vocabulary, false terminology, is not playing shuck and jive with the terms of, like, frequency, for example, are not verifying some kind of belief that is not otherwise provable except through misappropriated graphs. And that's where this information falls squarely smack dab in the middle of, is the pictorial evidence used to support a false narrative, a false flag, event, if you will, of some type, 5D ascension. We're going into 5D land and we're living happily ever after, like Dorothy and on the Wizard of Oz, going to the, the Neverland uh, palace to see the wizard. Like uh, this is all the shuck and jive of the stories that have been fed into the mainstream that they can use to channel your mind, channel your thinking, so that you're not looking at this properly. And so if there was ever any ascension stuff in that, like this information may or may not be, I don't know, uh, you're misdirected and lied to, and that natural desire that we have at this time to, finish your contract, basically, is channeled into a technical reading that's very difficult, nearly impossible to properly read. And then you're stuck there. You're going down the rabbit hole trying to chase a technological ascension, which is an assumption by the machines, by the AI machines, to integrate you into the, it's a part of the plan to integrate you into the machines rather than you understanding how it works and you rising, it actually doing what you believe, what you think it is, actually through you learning it. Instead, through following the rabbit hole of the false flag and sentient-based narrative, you're then sent down the rabbit hole to look for the meaning in this, of where there inherently isn't that meaning, because they've misused the technology and the terminology and blah 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 blah. It's part of a symptom. When you talk about ascension symptoms, well, there it is. The ascension symptoms are coming from you misplacing what ascension is, what you're doing, what it's doing, what your contract is, what your purpose here is. You running after the technological solution through Alexa or one of these, meanings, these nodes, whatever technological thing, Fitbit or whatever is going to fill that void, that space in you, or one of these graph readings or whatever. And instead of you having a greater meaning, you're more empty for it, and the ringing gets louder because you're not properly grounded into the actual correct the Earth's electric circuit grid, which is the planet herself. It's not the mediated version that you're what's the word? You're decrypting. You're trying to decrypt. You're trying to define. Trying to find the meaning behind the graphs on some greater level to it, and instead you're missing the point and the picture and what it's doing and why it's important, literally, physically. And there's more to it on a spiritual level of the disconnect of where your life, saving your life and the life of others here, to live a great life, to live a wonderful life, and not have it taken by earthquake, right? So these, it doesn't say here the Cumiana VLF earthquake precursor monitoring station, but that's what they're doing. That's what this is for. And in here, in the charts, is a seismic reading as well. That's important to know, right? So when we talk about what the true nature and the true blah, 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 whatever of ascension is among humans, first and foremost, ascension is you finishing your contract, right? There's something, some work that only you and you alone can do. For me, this is channel, the Facebook group. I've been doing this 4 years now, right? Before, I reached my graduation point here before I even started the Facebook group 4 years ago. The YouTube and the Facebook group 4 years ago. I had already done pretty much done what the main part of my life's contract was, but there's still more work that needs to be done. So, faithful servant here, we know you could otherwise have gone on, but you get you get to help people out who don't know anything about this highly technical stuff. So that is in itself is I think a wonderful experience that I had in doing this. Okay, so there is sort of meeting people. So there is a bit of something that I get out of this, right? But largely speaking, the love that I personally get is learning about the technology and the technical aspects, and it's not from sharing it with you. That's not the first and foremost on the list, because it's a pain in the ass to have to explain this stuff to people when you don't know, and to the amount of explaining and a lot of this stuff to have to bring you up to speed, and then the questions, and then oh my god, is there like and just not knowing. It's fine enough to know the information from my own experience, but for people who have no hands-on experience on your end and want to know what all, right? So that's why it's important to have visual aids, and that's why, like, even though I've already gone through the Cumiana report, right? It's important for you folks, to know what they are, what's happening, what they do. So I'm going to get into this in a little while and introduce it so that I can move on to the real reason, the bigger reason of the series, and that's I have a number of research that I need to bring out. It's like a browser dump, browser clearing that I have a bunch of stuff in my browser that I'm like, oh, I'm going to put this in a video, and like eventually when my browser gets so full that it just slows my machine down, it's like, all right, I gotta do a video on this stuff and just and bring it out into the public, right? So I've done lots of videos on the Schumann resonances and how that works and all that, and when material comes up, I still do video on that. But we're at the point now, there's so much new material that's out into the public eye that I have, like, I got no choice but to bring it out, right? And it's important because it's still in the mainstream thinking, the mainstream publications, we'll just say, they officially are still undecided that there's reliable, dependable, predictable earthquake seismic precursors that the average person can use. And by the average person, they really mean themselves, on this heavily skeptical kind of path that, well, the earth is not an intelligent system in that way, and the earth isn't really intelligent, and seismic doesn't come from solar, whatever. So it has been predominantly up to this point Dutch sense. Any of those of you who are familiar with Dutch sense, his battle with that, and suspicious observers, Dr. Ben, his battle talking about that and how that's that's part of the plasma cosmology / electric universe theory, is that the solar activity, solar outbursts, affects seismic activity in the channel and in the planet. Seismic activity channel in the planet, right? There's the 30 hertz, whatever. So because there's a lot of information that's coming out now that the floodgates are kind of open, that is not necessarily new, but has been around for a while, but it's newly distributed, right? If that makes sense to you. Like the some of the information that I have that's going to be coming up, like the first one is from 1997. All right, the cows coming down the mountain in 1997. All right? So they've been collecting data, since before 2012, right? So you got to remember, it's 2012 marks the new calendar start, the new age, the old age officially ended by that calendar. They have many calendars. The long count, that was the long count calendar. Right? Not only marked the end of that, but there was also a greater time circuit as well. Harmonic time harmonic. You got to just understand it that way, right? That every 6,000 years, there's a thing that happens. Every 12,000, every 26,000. Right? You got to understand that. Right? So we're in that part, the reset of all of this, and so that's why a lot of the stuff is coming out, where it especially relates to electromagnetics, the geoelectric circuit, the linking of CMEs, solar flashes, flares with seismic activity, with other stuff that happens on the planet as well. Right? This is important information to know. So, we're going to be the main, focus on the video series. Right? This is just the introduction. This is, the first one here. That's just going to be introducing the graphs from Cumiana and the Central Italian Electromagnetic Network, right? CIEN, CIEN, Central Italian Electromagnetic Network, and so this is just like I said, this is just a refresher course of what we've already learned in previous videos. I've gone through the Cumiana website, and this is on my browser here. So this is what I'm talking about, browser dump. I don't have it so you can see the tabs, but it makes a nice whiteboard to I love the way we can do videos now. I just content. It's not even a video; it's capture. I'm doing a capture on my desktop. Like the days. Like that's why this is me doing what I love doing. Right? I'm just living a life of meaning, living a life of great meaning, of living your passion. Right? Like I'm doing this, exploring this material because I can't be out in the field doing that, right? Trust me, I'm not going to be out in the field doing this, but I love the hardware. I still find old loudspeakers in the garbage that someone's throwing out. I pull them out, and sometimes I take the components out of them. I still have analog receivers, and I'm still very much into this. And I've shared this before, that honestly, when I was in school growing up, I was always doing something wrong. I was always getting grounded and separated, isolated. And so the whole point of being grounded is you're supposed to be learning something. You're supposed to be learning, right? So I'd have books, I'd have a AM FM radio, CB. I'd have a CB. My mom didn't know about it. I had it in the closet. So when I was grounded, I would, on the CB, and eventually she found out about it. She heard me in there late at night talking to someone who's in there, and oh, it's a CB, Mom. What? You're supposed to be grounded. Well, all right, we had a discussion about that, whatever, So that's me as a teenager, right? So I have a lot more experience with the hardware than with successfully integrating with and functioning with human beings on a one-to-one personality level. And this is one of the things that I'm supposed to be here for, and out here doing this, is to enjoy what I love doing. Most people love doing something with someone else, or even a bike ride. You find a tandem bike or something. I'm much more comfortable with this and the technology, and that's that's you have to know I'm on the up and up when I talk about all this stuff from a non-ascension perspective, because like I am just honest about this, that I would much rather spend time and research and energy and effort learning about the antenna and all of this than I would going out Friday night hanging out with friends. My family is all gone. My friends that I grew up with are all gone, right? It's just a new time. It's a new age. It's different now. It's different now. I'm 55. In October, I'll be 55. It's a whole new, different everything out there. And honestly, I would rather just do this, learn everything about the technology, make it as easy for you to understand, and then fulfill the life purpose that I have here before I say goodbye to more people, right? Because that's happening, right? More people are just, they're going away. Everyone's going, everyone's leaving, right? You're not sticking around for me, right? Just whatever, right? So, as again, I'm not being depressed, just as another person moves over to the other side, part of me moves over to the other side with them. Right? So, on that cheery note, this is me fulfilling my passion here. Right? I would love to tell people the truth, but the problem is you people just are not ready for it. Your mind can't really comprehend the greater everything of what really truly is out there. Really truly being as a human is just almost impossible for humans really to truly understand the bigger, huger fucking picture that is at hand now. And cheating through false vocabulary and assigning, like the technical, assigning like frequency is a great example, and all of this technical stuff onto some, human process that you need to be processing, and believing that the earth or the sun or the moon or whatever is doing this for you is ballast. That is ballast. And at some point it becomes fetid and it becomes septic. All of that, this whole idea of an ascension, that the rising frequencies are rising you into a spiritual being and you're gonna just float off into 5D, you are pathological in that belief. Right? I'm just giving you this in a digestible manner, that none of this here is based for your ascension, but all of this is returning everything down to its constituent elements. Now, what you call the so-called ascension energies, the higher frequency stuff, higher amplitude of power with a shorter wavelength that you call ascension stuff, right? That is ionizing radiations, breaking your genetics, breaking your chromosomes, breaking everything down to an irradiated, least common state, or breaking down to its lowest constituent state. That's what that ionizing radiation of the gamma and the X-rays and all of that other stuff, the cosmic rays and all of that, is doing for you, or more properly, to you. Right? So part of what you got from me, you're getting from me, is to not let you misunderstand the vocabulary you're using as being something that it's not. So that's why, like, the love, this is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm talking about. This is how I'm introducing this weird, whacked out way. I'm introducing the introduction of the research material. Is I am giving you from my heart the love of the material, and not because there's some kind of personality thing and looking to help you ascend in this, or no, I don't give a shit about that. I don't fucking care. You're not going to ascend, right? If you're not on that pathway, you're not working on your life's contract, if you're flopping around like a dead half dead fish on the beach, looking for the water. You're not making it. And this isn't me. I ask my guides, and I try and channel this so that I am a person instead of like to tell you really what I need to tell you, because I have to channel this through love, and that's the personality aspect of human, of being human, of humanity, of human beings, of the heart space. Why it's important for me to do this, why it's important for me to be here to help you out. It's not really what you know that helps you out. It's how you interact with people and get them to understand where you're at, and as well, in addition to that, is you understand where they're at. And yeah, maybe you can get to, there is an aspect, most definitely, of, being on the same page mentally with someone, but the words themselves, this is something that's really important, is, what coming through speaking and words, that can be very difficult, because the vocabulary and the lexicon of two people, unless you've been where they're at, and this is what you have to establish first. Where have you been at? What do you know of ascension? What do you know of the hardware, right? Are you mixing the matching? Are you confusing your spiritual pathway with learning truly technically correctly what the hardware does, what the constraints to the hardware is, what frequency is? And like you talked about frequency, are you using it as a philosophical, metaphysical, psychological term? Right? These are all things that need to be addressed with people in their pathway, you in your pathway, as you are coming to terms with the information, with it properly presented and what you got, right? I'm not the ascension guy doing this, but I will give you the information on that, and it's not going to be decrypting this information in some kind of mumbo jumbo way, right? That's not what I'm here doing. That's not what this is. It's not what we're about doing, right? I've said this before, and it's important to know that, right? That the lots of newcomers, right? Just so you understand what our being here is, what our focus is here. Like, this is why I go into this, and this is why this information is important as how I present it to you. Because vast experience in this crap, 40 years, right? Or more than 40 years in vacuum. I helped my grandfather fix vacuum tubes in a Philco console. Back when they had vacuum tubes and vacuum gates, and before internal circuits, before integrated circuits, IC, integrated circuit, big deal, right? In 1978, right? Integrated circuit put in a little AM, like, wow, AM FM radio, right? 76, I think 1976. My grandmother had one. She got it at the flea market, right? It was literally, you could fit it in your hand. There was, I was like, wow, I had an antenna that came out, battery powered. It was pretty amazing. AM FM transistor radio. Huge deal. That's what I remember. That's what I grew up on. So when I was grounded, I would take those apart. I would take speakers apart. I'd find them in the garbage, and I'd bring them back. Would tell my mom. So anyway, all right. So we're at 49, almost 50 minutes. All right. So this is a good union break time. We're gonna put some music on, keep playing what we had, and there we go.
Okay, I'm back. Back on in the saddle we go. Okay, let's turn off our Aronmix. And that is, once again, that was from 728. He sometimes he has like a little portable DJ thing he'll bring out, and like he'll just do an impromptu thing and live and then set it up and then just skate. And he's awesome. If I had money, I would get inline skates like he's got. Anyway, so onward and upward. So where are we at? All right, so we're here. We're in Cumiana. So I think I think I've stalled enough. I am so not ready for this. It's part of the reason why I have to meditate and ask creatures, the intergalactic whatever creatures, to help me out, because I'm just so not up for doing these. To be, God's honest truth, I love talking about these, and if you were here, I would talk with you, and we'd sit down and chat and You know, Alex could only take so much of talking about the technology, and then he'd want to make music. Well, whatever, all right. And so, like, this is what passes for a social life for me. And that's how you know I'm just giving you the truth in this, is because this is my social life here. Me talking to myself about the technology because there isn't anyone else to talk to. Thank you all for bearing with me, for being here. I appreciate you're making this more bearable here for me, in my living of a life of great meaning and living my passion. This is my, I'm going to show you, this, because this is my script here. That's it, right? So that's what I have so far. And I haven't even gotten into about frequency and rate versus velocity and speed. Just oh, hold on. I forgot to write the time down. Oh, please. That's me editing. That's how I edit, is I the pause button. I've said this before to those of you who've been around. So all right, so onward and upward. We got material. We got it. This is a learning video. It's educational. I hope I haven't gotten sidetracked off onto anything. Um, yeah. So, I've done a video on this before, just of this, and gone through it and explained it all. And so this is not new. And this is, I'm treating this like a refresher for those of you who have been around, but either you're new or you've been around for a while, you know. And I talked about in my little introduction there, I talked about it, about how this is extremely technical, right? This is just way extremely technical, and if not for, save for some techno geek like myself, who would much rather, you know, learn about the technology and just get into that as a passion, rather than have to explain it to you, you know, like that. Except for that, it would be difficult to really put this into humanizing terms. And honestly, just calling it the human isn't helping anything, except for helping you just further down, you know, the slow, steady state decline into sloth of the material matrix of the planet, from lack of clear understanding between one or the other of what is truly this that you're using in the word for it, and what, you know, is what's a myth, and that thing that, you know, you're actually using the word on, what that actually means over there on the other side, right? Anyway, so I forgot where I was at with this, but oh yeah, my love of this. So I'd rather, you know, just talk about this and deal with this, and, you know, research this, rather than have to explain it to you, uh, when there's a like a world of understanding that comes with practical hands-on application that you a lot of everyone, most of the people don't have, because you're just not a techno geek, and you're not, that's not what you do in your spare time. You don't rip apart radio components. A lot of you, there's a few that do, right? But for the most part, you're not looking at, you know, Philco. When I say Philco, you're not thinking, you know, I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm thinking of the console that worked on my grandfather and the vacuum tubes. You know, like that's what I am. What's going on in my head? So, so part of this is, you know, and like, all right. So let me just say this: we are, like, the humans are. Some of us are intentionally ascending and moving onward and upward, and but it's not through a displaced faith in the planet bumping you, jumping you up, jumping you forward, pushing you out. Like, you know, like in high school, like I had, like, that's how they got rid of me. Attrition, you would call that. And that's part of what
has to be understood, and the whole mumbo jumbo, the jingoey is the language and all of that, that is that people are, you're not ascending through lack of work, through lack of effort, through being pushed out like a turd. Okay, that's not how that works. You have to make willful effort to go on and go forward and onward and upward through your work, finding your passion, through your, fulfilling your life contract. The Schumann resonances aren't doing that for you. Nothing is doing that for you. The geoelectric power grid isn't doing that. It's taking care of itself, and it's going to do what it does, and that doesn't necessarily follow through that it's for your evolution, your spiritual evolution, when you are a conscious, conscientious, co-creating, co-creative, a creative being that you have to work with, you have to do something with. You can't give up your will to someone else somewhere else along the line and think that that's going to be honored by the universe in some way when you have a contract that you're not doing, right? That there's two distinct things going on. There's one, it's you and your contract and doing what you're supposed to, and following what your life plan is that you agreed to before incarnation here. Then there is you trying to live a life that is how do I say this? A life of technical learning of stuff that may or may not help you in your life's path. Right? So your ascension thing, your creation, your as a co-created being, your pathway of creation in doing your passion, the things that you're good at, that you can do, that you should be doing. The graphs and charts you're seeing describing the condition may or may not be helping you in your pathway if you're placing the wrong focus on those charts and on those graphs, and you're not otherwise placing the right focus on your pathway that should be taking you to what you're good at. Right? And no one else can tell you that for you. There isn't anything else that can tell you this for you. There isn't an ascension pathway, because it's up to you and your work doing your contract and your whatever the goal for your life is. Does learning this shit fit in there? Right? I don't know. Right? I know sort of it does for me, and yet people want to know. They want to know how is this affecting me physiologically? Right? This is always what it boils down to. It's not even on some largely speaking. It's actually, and for the majority of people, those who aren't even on the ascension pathway of some spiritual attachment to it, the majority of people that are looking for information want to know at a very fundamental level, how does this affect me physically? How does it make me feel? How should this make me feel? Right? Let's sort of within the ballpark of what is questioned, what's asked, what's wondered when people are coming into this field, right? Because I asked that question in the Facebook group and get information and want to know, right? So part of what I think needs to be understood is it's not just these natural processes that you should know for just to know what they are, and if there are spikes on it, what those are telling you, and how to localize them to our educational model. These are educational models. Remember, we're always trying to look at how the process works rather than attaching it to you in your personal life, because there's a location of where these are. This particular one in front of us, it's Italy, and in the other one at Tomsk, it's in Russia, right? Oh, the middle of Siberia or Ukraine or whatever it is. I think it's Ukraine. So
So how does this fit into your life? What are you looking for? So I when I'm working through this, I try and relate to this as people, and I explain to, again, it's to the newcomer, and even if you've been here for a while and you don't know, or this is new to you, right? If this is news, hopefully it'll come to you as good news. So my perspective here in this is to look at a person, to look at the human as a component in the overall circuitry of the planet. So each human one, all of us collectively, is a component in the system. All right. So I I mention it's important to mention that you have uh your internal power generator is stronger than the ambient electromagnetics of a lot of stuff that happens. However, when we when we feel something like an electrical a lightning discharge in the atmosphere and we feel it prickling, okay, say for example, that is the atmosphere affecting us, and then it can also do other things like maybe affect our heart rate or whatever else. And so those are important things to know, that on a physical level, that the electromagnetics do affect us on a physical level, heart rate, right? There are things. Now, how deeper is it on a spiritual or an etheric level of what the lightning discharge does? Like that. That's what these spikes are, right? And you're not seeing any here. So you're not seeing any here. All right. And this is the seismic channel. All right. So these spikes right here. All right. So this is what we're talking here in our chart here, for example. So those are detecting a discharge from the earth ground, the earth ground to uh, the the earth moves to the crust and then discharges up through the crust, through the cracks and the or weak spots on the crust, right? So that is a different channel than electric channel than the Schumann resonances and what those are over there, right? They're measuring two different things. And there's a reason why I do this and bring up this chart and these graphs so that people understand one from the other and what it's telling you, right? And so I may not be able to tell you how that is going to make you feel, how that should make you feel, but because number one, I don't know what your baseline is, and you yourself need to know what your baseline of this stuff on a good day is. And if you're always looking at the charts and whatever, are you monitoring what your own baseline is? So there's a first and foremost thing. So you knowing what your grounded, sensory locus, I don't even know what to call it, is your internal inventory of how you normally feel on a good day. So this is you having to take notes. This is you having to be involved in this before just pushing it off on the atmospherics and saying, well, it's, this spike there. And, so there's a scientific process to this that needs to be kept, a discipline that needs to be there first and foremost. And unless you're doing that, like, I can't talk about that knowledgeably, right? And however, I can talk about the and I look at everyone as a circuit in the overall complexity of the, where I'm a component in the overall complexity of the circuit, the Earth's electromagnetic grid, right? So that's part of what I need to understand in this is how plugged in am I into the Earth, right? And especially if, right, that may or may not mean anything. I don't know, whatever. And especially in lieu of me getting bad information or a person being told the wrong thing, like, for example, that the Schumann resonances are Earth's heartbeat, when it's not what the Schumann resonances are. And this
even the analogy falls short. But this being a different channel, the peroxy bonding that we'll be talking about going into it, like even this, this is the nano channel. It's important to understand that this is the not nano channel, this is the nano scale of that. And that's not the same as the Schumann resonances. It's not the same as the amplitude of the Schumann resonances. This does not go by the mode system as Tom's does. Tom says the perfected view of the Schumann resonances, and that's not this. This is a whole different channel, a whole different circuit. All of this is a completely different strength and power than the Schumann resonances, which are essentially echoes, essentially whispers of electromagnetics in the atmosphere. All right. So this is a good place to pause. I'm going to pause this and go up here and I think start our material. So I'm at 117.17 roughly, and I'm just going to pause this so you can have a drink, if you will. I have some rice on the cooker, and so I need to kind of just check that. So we'll just pause this for a moment so we can get situated. All right, thank you. Okay, I'm back. All right, so all right, so I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk another, I don't know, lather on 10, 15 minutes, small amount of time. Then play some music so I can eat my my rice. And then I'll go into the main material and we'll just introduce it. I'm just introducing. And this is a focus on our goal of why the research is important, right? This is where the ground, you know, at the ground, right, so to speak. Literally, they're here. It's not just some white paper research. It's like these guys are getting the information, and I think that's important for people to know and to see is this information and why, this is it. This is why it's important. All right. So I've talked of the reason that the most important reason why that they like this is funded from a grant from the government. In part, they fund a large part of this and of the other sites around Italy. There's a Central Italian Electromagnetic Network is I think 12. I think they have 12 stations now around all of Italy that monitors earthquake, behavior, and the different observational sites have they all have seismic meters, but some have more advanced that are detect a broader range, more sensitive, like these kind of things. And there's some that have radon detectors. I'm pretty sure they all monitor the temperature and the humidity, like these things. I think they all do that. Some of them have a more comprehensive, like carbon monoxide, radon, and other emissions in the atmosphere, right? And so they don't all do the same exact thing, but they largely do. There are functions that they all do, and so I believe they all have the magnetic component, and I'm pretty sure they all have the electric side in some way, and some have more bands that they check, the higher frequencies, whatever. So they do reports. They have periodical reports that they give, and they also do both this one here, Cristiano Ronaldo, and this Renato Romero and Cristiano Fadani. I get the names kind of a little bit mixed up, but the two of them have a lot of number of papers that are out there relative to what they've done with the central electromagnetic network, right? And again, I've done videos on this, and I've shown you the different network that one at Pompeii, Etna, all the different places. So, so it's important for you to get the information here as it is presented. It's important because this is like they're trying to save people's lives with this. And this is, I mean, there's a charter that comes with being publicly funded that they have to provide the information free to the public, right? I mean, that's the best possible use of this, the open share, open source that they have here, that the public can, open lab, that the public can have this information, and we can potentially know, us, armchair researchers can know that, like there's an earthquake, an imminent earthquake, right? There's something coming up, right? So one of the things that I mentioned before is frequency. Frequency is a wavelength. Okay. There's a difference between frequency and rate. Frequency is the wavelength, the distance from peak to peak, okay? And the rate is peaks per second. So radio is measured in the meter band. And so these are, you got to remember, these are kilometers. Schumann resonances are kilometers. So your antenna has to be tuned to the frequency of the wavelength that you're looking for. So your antenna, so this is, they're telling you, it's 20 meters, right? I'm sorry, it's 10 meters high and 15 meters long, right? So that's 30 feet for those of you Yanks who don't know. 10 meters is 30 feet, okay, high. So that's this part here, that's 30 feet high. And then at the top of the tees off, the top of that is 45 feet long, right? 15 meters long, so it's 45 feet. Right? So that's that's the old school. You see that T? That's an old school AM antenna. All right. So for the lower frequencies, that's what we used to use, right? Well, it's huge now. Right? So, but the you see it's a large antenna, okay? It's 30 by 45 feet. They have to be tuned. They're cut to the right size that you for the wave that you're looking for, and it's also the correct thickness of the wire itself. That's important as well. These are different aspects, different facets of picking up a radio signal. That's important to know. That not only are you looking for the right thickness of the wire, but it has to be the right length as well. That's really important. And that length has to match up with the wavelength that you're looking for. They absolutely need to. And that's why, this is why your antenna is not picking up gamma. They talk about, oh, it's gamma radio. It's picking up ascension energies. It's picking up gamma 5D, blah, blah, blah energy. And I keep telling everyone, no, it's not, because the antenna is not designed to pick up those frequencies. It's not designed to pick up those wavelengths. So there you go. And so I want to show that. I want to show you that's very important. I see you have the little wind dial that's giving you the direction. You know, they measure the conditions. They measure the conditions before, during, and after earthquakes, right? So that's important to notice, is that the size of the antenna has to match up with the wavelength. So here, the VLF monitoring, this is VLF, is very low frequency. And so you see the spectrogram at a few different
frequency, vertical frequency level. All right. So this right here, as I've mentioned before, this is the view meter, which is volumes per unit, right? And this is the decibel rating, right? Decibel is not a frequency. Decibel is a power rating. So the power is also, this is your intensity, or your amplitude is the height. And that's also your vertical conductivity channel, as they call that. That's from the ionosphere, theoretically, that's from the ionosphere, high potential, to the earth ground and the discharge. So that's where what relative to these charts are, is the power rating. It's not a frequency. So even though they have a frequency on the side here, right, as the power increases, so too does your frequency. All right, so you have two different scales. You have, this one is, the lower one is a 1500, and this one here goes up to 15,000. This is your amplitude. It's the amplitude. And so you have to remember the amplitude frequency is different from the seismic frequency, right? One is the electric discharge of the radio frequency. This one here, your seismic channel, is a different frequency, because that is a physical, that's an acoustic frequency rather than a radio frequency, which will go higher than the seismic. All right, so that's what it's showing you here, 30. This goes up to 30 hertz on the seismic channel. And here we have the same thing. This is your decibel meter, and that's telling you what, at this, whatever the decibel set is, and this is here, this is like 75, what the color means. And this is the power, right? Power, this is intensity of how strong the signal is. And these are all fairly strong signals here. And so when it goes into the white, where the yellow is all is somewhere around -75, which isn't that strong. But when we started getting into the white color here, when it's white, then you might want to start working. Now when it goes, like this one doesn't go into the red, this one here, see, this one goes into the red. That's a different channel than the geophon. And so they're telling you seismic monitor. Channel 1 is seismic monitor. Right? That's this one here. Both of these work together. Right? This one here is the lower one, the bottom one. Right? So the electric field, channel 2, electric field, frequency range 1 to 105 hertz, vertical. Right? And you have to remember, this is the rate. They're calling it frequency, but it's the rate, right? They're not giving you the frequency here, right? You got to remember this. They're not giving you a frequency here. Frequency is a wavelength, the distance between the wavelength, and the rate is peaks per second, right? That's hertz. Hertz is the frequency rate. Okay, you got to remember that, frequency rate. It's not the frequency, because the wavelength, right? So it's how many of those wavelengths pass by in a second, right? So when they talk about electricity, when the Schumann resonance chart, right? Let me just give you this. All right. The Schumann resonance chart, when they give you this down here, all right, I got to show you this. Right? This is important to understand. So pay attention. So when they give you this chart here, this is a frequency, this is a measurement. It's giving you this number here. These aren't hertz. This is a length. This is a distance. Okay, these are correct frequency numbers here, because they're giving you actual frequency relative to the magnetic. Now, when they, relative to the magnetic induction coil, that's what's, they're measuring the distance from they're measuring the distance from peak to peak here, right? When Cumiana, when they're measuring
this frequency here, this is a rate. That's the hertz. Okay? So this is two different things, right? It's important to understand the difference between the two and what they're showing you. And with the hertz count, the rate count, it's related to the electric discharge. How many peaks, unified peaks, are able to be measured in a second relative to the intensity on the chart. All right? This is important to understand that they're giving you two different scales here. Schumann resonances is in pico, and this is in nano. Okay? So it's important to understand the difference in the scale, right? And the Marconi antenna, that's the T. All right. So the seismic monitor frequency is different than the Schumann resonances, because with Schumann resonances, it's giving you the fundamental, it's giving you the wavelength of the fundamental, whereas here, it's giving you the rate count of the peaks in amplitude at a certain amplitude, relative to the color they're giving you there, right? That's the chart. That's what the chart is telling you. So, and so this update is telling you that their refresh rate is every 30 minutes, all right? And then down here, this is your multi-field of the recording of the data for the last week, but they truncated at 40. They truncated at 40 hertz. And that's the geophon. You see some of these are actually somewhat white. So that's the geophon record, which measures seismic. Pretty sure it's so this right here is giving you the waveform, right? Same thing as the one above, the waveform, and that's the intensity, right? So that's what the two different graphs are. One is the waveform, what it looks like, what the peaks look like, and then this one here is giving you the relative intensity or the strength behind those peaks. So that's the electric side, right? And then we get down here to the system two, the magnetic field, the induction coil. And so we have a guard rooster here, keeping track of it. And just for the record, like, that's not a good setup there. It's fun and interesting to see it, but you don't want it, just as a guiding principle here, you don't want it that close to livestock that they can come up and peck at it. You might think that you're getting, an earthquake or something, right? And so I'm kind of faulting him on that. It looks, maybe this was in the process of production. Like, I don't know, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But you want to have it, generally speaking, you want to have it kind of cordoned off so animals don't come around it. I'll just say that. Say that as a disclaimer. Right. So, but you see, they're in PVC. That's, generally speaking, that's what they do with these things. They put the magnetic induction coil in PVC. They cap it off at both ends, and they have it going crossways, so on two different axes. And so you see that's why they do this on two different axes, so you get a sense of flux, which is movement. All right. This is the Q. This is where we get into what the Q means. Q stands for quality, right, which is magnetic flux. Q factor is the dampening of a resonator. The Earth itself, the waveguide around the Earth that you get in the Schumann resonances, that's your resonator. Schumann resonances, right? Your resonator. So the Earth, it's the waveguide between the ionosphere and the ground, acts as a impedance, right? An impeder. It impedes. Electrically speaking, it impedes. It's a electric vacuum, a void, right? They refer to it as electric vacuum. So that is an impedance on signal in the atmosphere. So when we talk about the quality and the Q factor, this is how they relate. It's not the same thing. Q, when they see the Q on the Schumann resonances, it's not the same thing as the Q factor. They say it is, they call it that, but it's not. They're related, but it's not the same thing. And that's how you know the difference of what it is, that the atmosphere is a resonator, or it is an impedance to. It is normally an impedance to the resonator. And when you get a lightning discharge, that's your resonator. Pretty sure. The atmosphere itself is not the resonator, but the lightning discharges the resonator, and the atmosphere is an impedance to the electric flow, or the flow of electrons. Right? So that's sort of how they relate. Right? I'm not sure if you followed that. If you did, put it down in the comments. Hey, yeah, I followed you. If not, say, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'll give you a little better explanation if I can. All right. But that's just generally speaking what the difference between quality. Quality is magnetic flux. That's what this here is. Measuring the ULF, this what this chart here is a quality indicator, quality measurement. And they're giving you the vertical hertz up here on this side. All right, it's magnetic, so it's not going high frequency, right? High frequency rates. That's another. All right, so this is just they're giving you. Oh, and that's a lightning discharge graphic. So and that's the history of the argon. All right, so and they explain a little bit about it. Schumann resonances are almost always visible at night, right? It's important to know. During the daytime, the signal from a single track railway line, which runs 4 kilometers from the monitoring station, prevails. So do you see that? Right, that's what's important to understand. All right, FFT resolution, 10.5 megahertz. So it's refresh rate, I believe. Scroll time 40 seconds, or Schumann resonances. I just read that one. So it's visible at night. A kilometers away, there is also a 380 kilovolt high voltage power distribution line. The ICS 101 induction coil is placed in the garden 30 meters away from the station, where it is connected by a twisted pair to the line input of a sound card. Right? So that's how they're putting that into their computers, through the sound card. Right? Image updated every 30 minutes. Bottom section magnifies the range from 0.1 to 4 hertz, good for PC1 detection, or PCI. So that's interesting little techno geek there. All right. So that's giving you the magnetic flux from those two, right? That's what that's showing you. That's what this chart right here is showing you, the relative strength and of the field, out in the field, the magnetic field, based on the colors. And the colors are telling you which way the signal is coming, right? So that's what all those colors represent there. This nice rainbow plethora of colors, ooh, really pretty, right? So that's how that's different from this here, which is an electric channel. It's basically the voltage this way. All right, so I'm starting to trip over my words. Looks like it's time for music. It's like 2:20 now, and I really shouldn't be talking, and I probably would be better off closing this out now, but I got to finish, got to get into the research, and that's what this is. So I'm going to play some music so I can eat my rice, then talk about this, and then go to bed, I guess. All right, so let's pick this up where we were. All right, music. Yay! All right, onward and upward.
And I've been so strong. my heart. Girl, I'll be anything you need, girl, I'll be there for you. 'Cause to me, you are the flower of my heart. Girl, I love you for being you. And the special way you always touch my heart. Girl, I'll be there if ever you come. I'll be yours and yours. My heart. Girl, I love you for being you. And the special way you always touch my heart. Girl, I'll be there if ever you come. I'll be yours and yours and yours.
We're back. Alrighty. Okay, let's close it up. Alrighty, so we are back. All right, so thank you all. Thanks for coming back. Okay, I'm back. All right. And if you're back as well, oh my God, you deserve a medal of some kind. Some kind of a reward or something. Thank you. Well, you have my time, and I'm assuming I'm going to be doing this as a premiere. So, you know, say something to me in the premiere. Hopefully, I won't be sleeping through it when I do it. I've done that before. I made a premiere and I missed my own premiere. It happens. It was a 5-hour one, I think. It was crazy long. Why do I make videos that long? Who watches them? And that's like a couple days. That's like a week's worth of videos in one time. You know, no one's got time for 5 hours of video. 2 hours here. Well, it's probably going to be closer to 3 hours by the time I'm done with this. No, seriously. I want to just kind of go through this just briefly, because I'm just introducing this as the material. Like, this is the first of the material of why I'm doing this. The whole earthquake precursor bunch. I have like 5, I think, or 6 lined up in the browser of that deal with this very topic, the earthquake precursor. And the first one in there here is fun. Hopefully it's kind of a fun kind of thing, because this is something that we all sort of know. We all are, those of us who have animals, who've ever had an animal, and you're in a seismically active area, the cats, for example, they let you know something's up. The birds, the birds go crazy. And a lot of times, like, the animals will leave an area before an earthquake hits, and they know out in Yellowstone, out there where they're getting earthquakes all the time. The bison are always moving out of the area to somewhere else that's not quaking. All right, and it baffles them, and a lot of the mainstream scientists, they haven't known really where to put these reports and what to do with them, because it's not what they do. And yet there's a growing body of the research, growing body of work that is related to this very topic, this very thing of weird animal behavior, or unintelligible to us animal behavior prior to an earthquake or some kind of seismic thing, something odd in the environment, the atmosphere, whatever. All right. So this is something that people have known for a long time, but they haven't always been going around collecting the information. So I'm not going to go into depth about this research, like I said, because I'm just introducing it. The next video is going to go at more length, and I'm going to go through more of it, because because they talk about their methods and their methodology, and I believe that's important for people to understand coming into this, is how do they get this information, right? So that's part of what they answer as well. So, all right, so we're gonna just kind of talk about some of the things that are here just really quick in this. And again, next video, I'll go over these once more, but this is just an introduction of this, right? So I talked about the other guy, Ronaldo Romero, Ronaldo Romano, not to butcher the poor guy's name, and Cristiano Fidani, both work together here with the Central Italian Electromagnetic Network, in Fermo, Italy. So that's one of the stations that they have is in Fermo. And then there's another station, Perugia. This says Observatorio Seismico. So these people are coming to this with credentials. Now, Friedman Freund, he's got 3 of these here. The Ames Research Center in NASA, for whatever we can trust NASA with or for these days. Earth Sciences Division. I believe he himself is a good scientist. Then you have the Department of Physics at San Jose State University, where he's a professor. And then Carl Sagan Center, SETI Institute. And I'm not sure if he's also a professor there or not, but he's got credentials. And then the other one, the last one here, Rachel Grant, she comes from Department of Life Services, Department of Life Sciences, and Anglia Ruskin University in Cambridge. All right, so Cambridge is very well known. They have an astrophysics department there. All right, so I've explained this, I think, somewhere before. If not, if you remember it, that's great. If not, I'll explain it to you. A lot of times, there will be a research scientist, like say Cristiano Fidani here, who needs the computing power of NASA for all their data. We'll just say, for example. So he's in contact with Friedman Freund, and the guy's like, sure, send me the data that you got, bring it to me. We'll talk over tea or whatever. And so the two of them work together because you have the data provided by one person, the resources provided by another, and then you have yet this third person who also has data related to, somewhere else in the world, and she has included her data in as well. We'll just say, for example, so she gets credit as well. So one of the things you want to note here is that they received this on July 7th of 2014. All right, so we're talking about 97, 07, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, right? So we're now talking about 27 years, okay, 27 years from when the data was collected to when this is received and then published. Okay, I'm looking through all this. Yeah, I've looked through all of this once, and so now I'm looking through it again a little bit more, with a little bit more attention to detail. And so that's one of the things I noticed, that the data for this, it's not like the data isn't out there, okay? It's not like the data has not been collected for a while, right? The data is being collected, is being, whatever the correct tense of that is, it is being collected, it has been collected for a while. And this is here, again, the event happened, the earthquake happened in 1997. And so they had been collecting data since then. Right? I think that's fair to say. And they've been compiling data to a point where they were ready to publish it, and then they finally did publish it, blah, blah, blah. So it's important to note, again, here, going by the date, that it's been, they have been on top of this for a while. And it's not that this stuff doesn't exist, it's that the mainstream scientists have a hard time accepting reality. And science, as Terence McKenna says, science moves along one depth at a time. I'll just put it there. All right. So I'm going to read this, I think, and then be done for the video, play some music, then be done, because it's like it's almost 3 o'clock in the morning. All right, so the simple summary. Simple summary, yeah. Recent reports from several countries, such as China, Italy, and Japan, support the existence of strange animal behavior before strong earthquakes. However, the stimuli to which animals are sensitive preceding seismic activity are still not completely understood. Here we report the case of a herd of cows reported by an entire village leaving the hill pasture and descending near the village streets 2 days before a strong earthquake. All right, so that's where, oh my God, 1:59. All right, so I'm going to play a little bit of music outro here because y'all like the music. And then I'm going to close it out because we're almost done here. So, on that cheery note, what do we got?
Your heart, and I'll be there if ever you call. I'll be yours with your all and all. Roses are red, violets are blue, baby. Well, if there's anything I'm certain of, it's I love you. Roses are red, violets are blue.
Okay, we're done. I've had it with you guys. Thank y'all for being here. So this is going to be a likely a premiere. Um, this is a feature length here. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate everything. And I don't know when the thing here will be out, when that video. I still got to make the damn thing. You know, a lot of words here. Oh, they get a map. Yeah. And they show you some of the questions in the questionnaire. Cows, moo, 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 motherfucker. Yeah, and so they go through the different cows, different, the different type of behavior for the animals. Ooh. Look at that. Oh, color. Color on it. What does it say? Oh, theoretical background. All right. Rocks are generally good insulators. However, when they're stressed, and he talks about the P holes, positive holes, and all that. Oh, yeah. There's a lot more to this. I'm just giving you the introduction. This is a pretty good size chunk of research. Hey, anytime you see Friedman Frund on there, you know there's a bunch of research in there. You know, he's got to pay his mortgage somehow. Anyway, so hopefully that wasn't demeaning of the man. So on that cheery note, I'm gonna end this and just have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you. I really appreciate everyone for being here. Y'all are wonderful people, and so I will see you or talk with you in the premiere. Thank you. You're all wonderful. Namaste.